Welcome to this week's Brittany's Bites. We are sticking with the soup season theme. I know I've made a lot of soups recently, but I just have to share all of my favorite recipes, and this one is a good one. It is a white bean chicken chili, a favorite around this house, and it comes together with a lot of pre-made ingredients, which makes it really simple. So let's get started. I've got some olive oil heating here in the pot, about 2 tablespoons or so, and then I've got 1 yellow onion. You can use a white onion as well. It was a pretty big one, so it's all chopped up. I'm gonna put that in right now. Oh yeah, I've got it a little hot, I think. You can hear the sizzle, that's for sure. Those onions are definitely gonna cook down. I'm just gonna let those go for a minute or two, and then I'm going to move on to the next part. This can be optional, or you can use a different kind of pepper, but I have a fairly large jalapeno pepper that I have diced fairly small. You can use a poblano pepper, even a bell pepper if you just want a tiny hint of spice and you don't want to go this high with it. So do whatever you'd like. I'm gonna give this another quick stir. I also have about 3 cloves of garlic, 3 to 4 is probably good depending upon how much garlic. These were actually huge. I may not end up putting all of this in there, but I just have those minced down. So what I'm gonna do is put in the jalapenos, get those cooking down for a minute, and then put in the garlic and only cook it for a minute or so because we don't want it to burn, and then we'll add in some spices. Okay, before this garlic starts to burn, we're gonna get to the spices, and I've got a whole bunch. You don't have to use all of these, but I think each one adds a little something. One of my favorite spices is cumin. You can probably tell I'm almost out of it. So I'm going to use about 1.5 teaspoons of cumin. I'm gonna put right in there. That is 1. Ooh. I might not even get it 1.5. That'll be good. And then I've got some oregano. You could also use Italian seasoning in this case. I'm gonna do 1 teaspoon of that. There we go. Then, what else do I have here? Coriander. I'm gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of that. 2 more to go. I'm gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. Oh, that's cayenne. Let's do this. And then if you would like, you can do a whole 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne. If you don't like spice, you can leave it out, or you could just drop it down and do about a 1/4 teaspoon. All right, I'm gonna do a 1/2 because we like spice around here. I'm gonna mix this up and then quickly get in our broth so that nothing is burning in our pan there. So give me a second to do a quick stir. By the way, it is smelling fabulous. Everything is cooking and coming together very well. All right, now when it comes to the broth, obviously we are making white bean chicken chili, so feel free to use chicken broth. I always have a ton of vegetable broth on hand, so that is what I'm using today. Also, that means if you'd like to serve some with chicken and some without, you can do that and make it vegetarian. So I have 2 of these. Each one is about 4 cups. I'm gonna start with just 1, and then I might add some later, depending. All right, so let's get all of that in. All right, we've got 1 of those in. Now we have 2 cans of cannellini beans. They're basically like white kidney beans. I've just taken them out of the can, rinsed them, drained them, ready to go into the pot here. Now I'm gonna stir this up, crank up the heat a little bit, and get this simmering for a few minutes. This is still coming up to a simmer, so I'm gonna add in one more thing. Should have added this in with the spices, but I forgot it was sitting over here. A little 4-ounce can of those diced green chilies. Again, you could leave this out if you'd like, but this really makes the white bean chicken chili recipe. So I'm gonna pour this in, and again, bring this up to a simmer. The soup is now simmering, so we're gonna move on to the next steps, and we're gonna make it a little healthier than maybe your regular white bean chicken chili. And that's because instead of putting a lot of cream in it to sort of make it creamy, we're going to do a little hack. And that is, so you saw that I had those 2 cans of cannellini beans, those white beans that I drained and rinsed. Well, I had 1 extra can that I put into a little blender and blended it up. And it basically mimics a creamy sauce. So when we put it in, it'll make it creamy. Now, we're also going to amp it up a little bit by adding in some Greek yogurt, but again, that's a little bit healthier than adding in, let's say, full fat sour cream or heavy whipping cream. So let's get it in with these beans. Great, so we've got that puree in. We're gonna stir that up, let it cook about another 10 minutes or so, and then we will add in our final touches. And that includes some corn, the chicken, and then a little bit of lime. So we'll get that going in just a minute. This soup has been simmering for quite a few minutes now, so it's time to finish it up and probably add what some of you feel is the most important ingredient. That, of course, is the chicken. And just to make it easy, you know those rotisserie chickens you get in the store? Just grab one of those and shred it up. It's all good to go. So we're gonna take this, put it right in, stir that in. And then this is also an optional ingredient, but I do like it. I'm gonna put in some corn. And it's sort of to your preference. You could put in the whole can, a cup, or just sprinkle it in like I do until you say, oh, yeah, that's about enough. All right, I think that's good. And you can see that it got a little bit creamy when we poured in the blended up beans, right? But we want to amp that up a little bit. If you like your white chicken chili creamy, you're gonna add in this. You can either do, as we mentioned before, sour cream, but I'm gonna do a big scoop of Greek yogurt. And that gives sort of the same little tang too, and also will make it creamy. I think I'm just gonna do that much. All right, then I'm gonna stir it up. I've also added in some more salt and pepper. Look how great that looks, all coming together, and it smells fantastic. I will say I gave it a little taste to see if I needed to add that more salt and pepper, and it is spicy, so be aware of that. Again, we added in not only the can of green chilies, but also the diced up jalapeno, then some cayenne pepper, some paprika, which also has a little heat with it. So you can tone it down a little bit if you'd like, and you don't like the spice, totally fine, it'll still be great. There we go, it's basically done, but I'm gonna add one more little thing. We wanna spice it up a little bit with some tang, and so I'm just gonna take about half of a lime, squeeze it in, and then you're good to go. So let's see how this looks. We will scoop it out into a bowl. There we go, and you have your white bean chicken chili, perfect for a fall or winter night, easy weeknight meal or a weekend meal. If you would like to get the full recipe all written out for you, you can go online now to WBIR.com.